Before I arrived, I heard Vietnam was one of the cheapest countries in the world. I was a little bit skeptical, especially people saying you could live there for really, really cheap. But can you live here for $800 a month? I've been in Da Nang for about a month now, and I'm going to share with you my actual costs. I'm also going to share three things that I've learned about how you need to think when you're in Vietnam, because it's a lot different than you would think back in the United States or your home country. I'm Daniel. I'm a former hospital CEO, and I've been slow traveling for about 5 years now. And I apologize for how I sound. I'm just getting over the flu here, so I'm pretty plugged up, but we're going to keep going. Okay, so let's start with accommodations, whether it's an apartment, an Airbnb, a homestay, a hotel. The first thing I did learn, I'm going to share my first learning here, is that I thought my Airbnb was a good deal. Here's a picture of it right here. As you can see, it's a pretty simple studio. It has a couch, a bed, and a bathroom, and a washer. But that's pretty much it. And it was $650 a month. And I thought, wow, that's not bad at all, because I had been traveling, even in Central and South America, paying well over that. So I thought, wow, what a good deal. Then I started watching more videos about apartment hunting, just kind of wondering, what are the actual costs? And I thought, well, I'm sure I'm paying a little bit over Airbnb. So as I said before in my videos, I do like Airbnbs because I've had really good luck with them. I always get the free cancellation. So if my plans change, then I can cancel and get my money back, as opposed to putting a deposit down on an apartment and all that. So then I started thinking, I'm coming back in November for 3 months. So should I get an apartment? Should I get an agent, look for an apartment? Or should I get an Airbnb? So I looked on Airbnb and I found an apartment exactly like this, probably a little bit better and closer to the beach, for $280 a month plus electricity. This one for $650 includes electricity, but the rates have actually gone up to almost $700. So just by looking on Airbnb and knowing a little bit more about location in Da Nang, I'm saving over 3 months, I'm saving $1,100. But if you go find an apartment and you're going to sign a 6 month or a 1 year lease, you can get a 2 bedroom apartment for $300 to $500. That's much better than what I'm getting for Airbnb. For a little bit more, say $700 to $1,000 a month, you could get a really nice apartment in a high rise with the pool, a gym, all that. And if you were willing to spend $1,500 to $2,000 a month, you could get an oceanfront, luxurious apartment that would rival something in Miami that would cost you $10,000, $20,000 a month. Okay, let's talk about food next. And I'm going to break this into three categories: sit-down restaurants, street food, and Western food. All right, but before we continue, if you're enjoying this content, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, it always helps. And in the description, I have some resources for people like us who travel, so you might want to check those out. All right, let's talk about restaurant food. So this little restaurant right here is about a block from where I live. There are literally restaurants everywhere, so it's really easy to find food. As you can see, it's very nice inside. It's just a very simple but very clean, nice restaurant. So the first dish is pho. As you can see, this right here, a nice bowl, a nice presentation, cost about $3.50. And this picture here is a fried egg type of pancake with different stuff in the middle. And this was about $3. So these two dishes plus a Coke Zero cost about $7.50. Okay, now I'm going to talk about street food. Right here is a bao bun, and it's filled with beef, egg, mushrooms, and it's actually pretty big. That cost 52 cents from a street vendor. The next one is a banh mi. You can get these for like $1. I ordered through Grab, which is a kind of the like Uber Eats, the delivery service here. And I got two of these plus delivery for $2.17. This fruit cup right here is from a convenience store next door to me. This is about 92 cents. When I lived in Spokane, Washington, less watermelon than this cut up in a grocery store was over $10, and this is 92 cents. Okay, now let's talk about the most expensive category of food, and that's Western food. It's cheaper than the US for sure, but it is way more expensive than local food. This plate right here, eggs Benedict, bacon, salad, fruit, and a little banana bread and a coffee, cost about $8. This is at a coffee shop that's right next to the beach, and it's a very touristy area. All right, a comment on groceries. There's a little grocery store near here that I just get a few items, so I can share those. So eggs are about $1.42 per dozen. Bacon, you get about 8 pieces. That's about $2.50 for the pack. Coffee, I do these instant coffee. It's called G7, and I get 100 packets for about $7.50. Water is about $1.30 for 7 liters. And then sodas, I don't drink them much, but when I do get a soda, it's about 42 cents from the grocery store. So moving on to kind of the health category. So here's the gym I joined. As you can see, it's pretty modern. Equipment's actually very nice. And they charge based on duration. So like 1 week is expensive. 2 weeks, I remember 2 weeks being about $22. I joined for a month and that was $30. But if you join for a year, it's probably like $15 a month or something. So it is a nice option, and there's a lot of gyms you can join. But gyms are readily available if you want to work out. I would say one thing, this gym does not have air conditioning, so it's like 90 degrees in there. You might want to think about a gym with air conditioning. Okay, medicines, there's pharmacies everywhere here. So I bought Allegra for sinuses, and it was 10 cents a pill. Walgreens in the United States charges 62 cents a pill. And what I like about the pharmacies here, you can buy the number of pills you want. You don't need to buy the whole box like you do in the US. So I bought cough medicine, and I bought it for 3 days worth. And that was about 10 cents a pill. So medications are by far cheaper here, like 1/6 the price. All right, so I wanted to get my hair cut. This is the outside of the barber shop here. And the haircut was $3. And this guy spent 30 minutes cutting my hair. So haircuts are, what is that? 1/10 the price of the US. And that's because I get a cheap haircut in the US. I mean, some people pay $50, $100. $3 and probably one of the better haircuts I've received. So here's one of the second things I've learned here is costs add up because they are so cheap. You're still in the mindset of, wow, this is so cheap. So you're like, oh, I'll get extra coffee and I'll get extra massages, which I'm going to talk about next. Or I'll do this and I'll do that. And then when you look, it adds up. So again, having a Western mindset here, you have to kind of change that to adapt to a country where things are so cheap. So massages here at a very nice, legitimate place, $20 for a 90-minute massage. You go in, they sit down, they give you tea and cookies. The massage is very professional. The amenities are super nice. The rooms are very comfortable, and the tip's already included in that. You could get a massage on one of the kind of the street massage places for like $6 to $8 for an hour. So entertainment is pretty cheap. I went to an expat bar and I got a hamburger, fries, and a beer, and it was about $6. And those prices are actually high because it's an expat bar. I went to another place, I had one beer, and they had a live band, and it was about $3, and it was outside. That was super nice. So, I mean, way cheaper than the US for sure, but entertainment and even the drinks on the beachside bars are pretty reasonable. I think a Heineken's maybe $3. So the third thing I was thinking about of the mindset change is that, especially in the US, the tipping culture is insanity. We tip so much. They expect 20, 30% now. And when I came here, I was tipping with a US mindset. So I'm thinking, in the US, I'd give a $5 tip and for 2 beers, and I would give this tip. So I was giving tips that were like 80% of the bill because 2 beers were $6 and I was tipping $5. Tips aren't really expected here, but if you do tip, don't fall into the US thinking of, oh, I'll just give a $5 tip or whatever, because the bills are so much lower here. So the next one is Vietnamese lessons. Like if you want to take Vietnamese, it averages about $5 an hour. So these are kind of the daily cost of living. What they don't include is if you stayed here long term, you'd either have to get a visa or do visa runs. If you wanted flights to different countries or flights back to your home country, that's not included. And, you know, if you bought a scooter or transportation or whatever, that's not included. Speaking of transportation, they have the Grab here, Grab cars, which are like Ubers, and I can go about a mile for $1. $1. I took a 15-minute ride yesterday, and it was in one of the higher end Grab cars because that was all that was available, and it was $2.33. I took a 15-minute ride to the airport in Washington State, and it was $30. So getting around is super cheap, and they're super fast and super nice. So for $800, you can definitely live here. You would have a small apartment. You would probably be eating lower cost food like street food, maybe occasionally going out. You probably wouldn't get much Western food. You'd have to limit your entertainment, but it's definitely doable. Definitely doable for $800. You would have those extra expenses. It depended on what type of amenities you wanted, but it would be very possible to live for $800. For $1,500, you could live a very comfortable life, have a bigger apartment. You could eat Western food. You could go out. You could go have entertainment. You could take Grabs. You could go to Starbucks. You could live a pretty good life for $1,500. For $2,500 a month, you could live in a beautiful apartment facing the ocean, probably 3 bedrooms, something that would cost 10 grand a month in the US. You could basically enjoy massages all the time, entertainment. You could live very, very well for $2,000 to $2,500. Vietnam, by far, is the cheapest country I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of countries. All right, if you have any questions, put them in the comments and let me know what you thought about this video and if you're planning on coming to Vietnam. Hey, take care.